Let me go back. So we're going to go a little deeper on this idea of habit stacking, and I think that I want to give you some context around performance. But let me move this way. So I just saw some stuff from Gallup. I showed some of it to you last time. And management styles that seem to work in the past were much more about paycheck, we said, right? Much more about, my satisfaction and I've got a boss. And I'm going to have an annual review and we focus on my weakness and it's really about, my job. Where in the last little bit, I'm not saying that that's all gone away. But Gallup is suggesting that, this is much more of the workplace that we live in now, much more about purpose. Agreed? And that's why, you guys are who you are. You have purpose. You want to really make this thing happen. We're moving in a direction. Number two, and we honor you guys, obviously, about development. We want to develop each other. We want to get better. We want to take the next step. And from a management point of view, it's less about boss and more about coach, which is interesting. We'll keep that alive. And then what's really fascinating, Gallup has found that this thing is less about the annual review or the quarterly review. And actually, this is interesting, Robbie, for you to think through. Used to be the monthly review. And guess what Gallup is finding is best practices now? The weekly review. And it's not a review, it's an ongoing conversation. Isn't that interesting? I think that's really interesting. So it's an ongoing conversation and it's much more around strengths. And this is what we want to focus in on today. So for Mike and for Jennifer and for Robbie, for Dan, like, how can we focus on the strengths that we have? And then it's much more about my life. So Gallup is they've done, obviously, when Gallup does stuff, I give them credit because they do it big and it's current. Okay, so that's sort of where Gallup's at right now. I'll get out of the way here. So from a strength-based point of view, if you can see here that if you're having let's say your boss at work, my supervisor, ignores me. So there's the percentage of people when you're ignored that are highly engaged. That makes sense, right? But how about this one? This is interesting. Even if my supervisor tells me things that aren't my strength, right? I get a little bit out of it. So if they focus on my weakness, you can see 45% is better than 2. At least they're paying attention to me. But this is the one we want to keep focused on, right? And this is a great one for kids and for, leadership development stuff is if we can focus on strengths, we can actually get up to, 60+% of high engagement. So the goal is for the rest of our time together is to always focus on your guys' strengths. Now there's a guy, we're going to spend a big chunk of our time talking about BJ Fogg. And if you get a chance to take this deeper, please do. BJ Fogg's one of my favorites. And he's one of these neuroscience / behavioral guys. Okay. And what I love about this, and I'll sneak on, let's see which way is the best way to get out of the way here, is that, BJ Fogg talks about sort of this idea of behaviors, and he's the habit stacking guy. So we're going to go a little deeper here. But I like the way he does this. So you've got high impact behaviors, you got low impact behaviors. I want you guys to start thinking of yourself here, and we'll try to dig it deeper. And then I love this on the East-West. You've got, no, I can't help myself. There's lots of those in my life, right? No, I can't do that. And yeah, I can do that, right? I can get myself to do that. No, I can't get myself to do that. So as you guys might guess, I'm going to be a little vulnerable with you today, as we always are. And I'm just going to walk you through some ideas. And Jenny and I have talked about this a bit, but this is primarily me. So if you look at this idea, and I want you to, obviously you'll get this video, and I'd love you to think through this crosshair, right? So what are high impact behaviors for you? That's a great question to ask. And would they fit into, yes, I can get myself to do this behavior? Or would they fit into the, no, I'm having trouble getting myself to do this behavior? Okay, this is powerful. Because, I've got some that, are really high impact. Jen and I walk every day, and I can get myself to do that now. That's a habit. Okay. But I struggle. I call it eating clean or eating dirty. Yesterday, Jen and I had not one bag of chips. We had 2 bags of chips. What the heck? And my weight's way up today, Mike. What's going on? I can't believe it. So I'm putting eating clean. Sometimes I can't get myself to do it. I love water. I just don't think about it. I got to figure this thing out. I got to, I know it's high impact. I know for me to lose the weight I want, that I need to drink that water. So I get that. And I'll fire a few more at you. COVID, I'm not going to the gym. No, I'm struggling to get myself to do it. And low impact behavior in my mind is standing. I know Jenny says it's a really important thing. I just can't do it. And I just don't believe in it. So that's me.
You're doing it right now.
I know I'm standing, but I like to sit. Okay. That's me. Now here's one Jen and I are going to have fun over. Actually, yoga is so good for me. It's close, Jen. It's not low impact. It's on the line. And then, let me just fill it out here. Okay. So this is sort of me. I'll give you a couple of where I'm at. So some of the things I'm focused on from a high impact that I know I can get myself to do. Jen and I have backed off on the wine. We're trying to figure out the sugar thing. We're better at that, but we had Chinese food last night that had sugar in it, and that's my fault. So the dinner to dinner fast, I just fire at you. I love that. Jen and I both love, we call it intermittent fasting, dinner to dinner. That works really well for us. Okay. So you're getting a feel. And the reason I want you to get a feel here is this idea that, I can get myself to do it, and they're high impact behaviors. What I'd like both of you to do, and we'll get Dan to do also, is this week for homework, I'd love you to just have this in mind. High impact, right? Low impact. Yeah, I can get myself to do it. No, I can't get myself to do it. And start just filling out that quadrant a little bit with, the things that are in your life. Because obviously, if we can go up into the high impact behaviors that I can do, and I can get myself to do it, we're starting to identify the habits of our life, right? The positive habits that we can then stack on. You guys are going to laugh at me. You know that on our walk now, I've stacked the Audible. So I listen to books when Jen and I walk. Number 2 is I've now stacked the push-ups. So I'll do 10 sets of 100 push-ups. Sorry, I wish. 10 sets of 10 push-ups. I wish.
I was impressed, Ryan.
Yeah, I know. For just a minute, Robbie.
I wasn't buying it.
Yeah, 10 sets. I can't get it by Mike, though. 10 sets of 10 push-ups as we walk. And so I look like a bit of an idiot. I've got my little push-up handlebar things, and I'm doing push-ups while everybody.
I look like more of one.
Jenny, tell them what you've stacked.
Because at first when Ryan was doing his push-ups, I just did extra walking. So walked ahead of him and walked back to him. And then I thought to myself, the time when I lost the most weight in my life, I jumped. And so I actually jump while he's doing his 10 push-ups. So I'm standing on the grass beside him. He's down there doing push-ups and I jump and twist. Like it's not just jumping. I don't have a skipping rope. I jump and twist. So that's got to look 100 times worse. Plus I'm upright, so I'm way easier to see. But
Well, and I heard an older couple go by us at one point and say, Henry, stay away from those two. So obviously there's some things that I want to start, bringing over to the high impact. Yes, I can get myself to do it. Love you to think about that quadrant though, and you're going to get this video, so you'll have the visual. Okay. Now let's go way back, because I want to take you in another thing that BJ Fogg does a good job on. And that is this equation that B equals MAP. For the rest of your lives, I want you to think about B equals MAP. This is a cool concept that is very proven in science now, so that every behavior that you have, whether they're in the top, high impact, they're in the bottom low impact, they're no, I can't get myself to do it, or yes, I can get myself to do it. This equation will really start to make sense for you. So every behavior needs a motivation, it needs an ability, you have to have ability and some sort of ability, and you need a prompt. Now, the reason I brought this up, do you remember the concept that we talked about, that results come from habits, habits from actions, and the accelerator of all behaviors is the belief system and the mindset that we take on, okay? So that's sort of the concept of our model. And then, below that line is the thinking belief system. Above that line is behaviors. So we're going to dive deep into this idea of behaviors right now. Now here's BJ Fogg, and this is a really cool idea. So obviously you'll get this, and if you need a visual, let me know and I can send a visual also. But let's have a look at his idea that behavior must include some sort of motivation, some sort of ability, and some sort of prompt. Is that starting to make sense with you guys now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian, what is a prompt? What do you define as the prompt?
It's a great question, Robbie. And we're going to go into a bunch of prompts later, but it's almost like a cue, right? Like, so let's say, what would be a good example? Well, I'll give you a good example. So I'm walking with Jen, and now the prompt that hits me is I got to get 10 sets of push-ups in.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
so what sort of is in your mind that goes boom?
Gotcha.
Okay, I got to get this done.
Yeah.
and
Would
for
you
me,
agree?
it's Ryan stops to do push-ups. So then
Right.
that's my prompt to jump.
Great
I understand now. Yeah.
Yeah, and Robbie, sometimes that's what one reason I love my Apple Watch. Oh yeah, got to get at it, right? So what's really cool is some people have the motivation to get going, and some people even have high ability. But you know what they struggle with? They struggle with the prompt to get them started.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. We'll go deeper into that. So as you can see, you've got motivation north-south here. And then on the east-west, just below there, you've got ability, okay? Easy to do on the far side here and hard to do on, as you head towards sort of that way, my left. And then low motivation, high motivation. What's really cool about the way BJ Fogg does this, guys, is this idea of the action line. Isn't that cool? Here's his point. With motivation and ability, the prompt, if we have higher motivation and a little bit of higher ability, the prompt succeeds really well. But if we have lower motivation and lower ability, the prompt often fails. So one of the questions that you want to ask yourself as you're thinking about behavior is how can I increase my motivation, and how can I get just a little bit more ability, so that, here's the point, so that I can get over the action line. Because over the action line, that's where the prompts work. Okay, so Mike, as you keep moving here, as I say that, give us an example, Mike. And I'm putting you on the spot. You know, you're my buddy. I get to do that. So you've got something that's maybe a little bit less motivation to do, and your ability, you might not be an NHL player, right? You might not be at that level, but you have some ability, but not all the ability, and your prompt fails. Have you got any ideas there, Mike, that you might give us as an example?
Yeah, I don't know. So I'm imagining, I want to make a call to a potential client, but I'm really not sure. I'm a little worried about what their response is going to be and whether they're going to be interested, or whether I'm wasting my time. So I don't know where that fits, but it's
perfect. So Mike, that is absolutely perfect, and I feel your pain, because at times I'm making those calls to clients too, right? And so our motivation is down just a little bit. Would you agree? Because we're unsettled. And how about this one? Our ability to answer all of their questions might be unsettled also.
Right.
And so can you see where, if we get under that action line, guess what happens to Mike and I? I don't think I'll make the call. Right?
Yeah, because the ability's there, but the motivation isn't high enough. So we're falling under the line.
And so the prompt has to be a powerful prompt to get us going. I'll tell you what would be a great prompt is if the guy called us, Mike.
Yeah.
Hey, okay, he's on the phone. Now I got him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, what's really cool about that scenario, though, is how about you and I? Let's leave the ability alone. So we have the ability to do it, and so let's look at a motivation. What would increase our motivation, Mike, to get us over the action line, to be prompted, and that the prompt would succeed?
Well, I think the motivation is, if you don't make the call, you won't get the answer. You won't know if they're interested or not.
It's perfect.
So it just remains unresolved. So the motivation is, let's find out if they're interested. If they're interested, great. If they're not, well, at least we know they're not interested. We'll move on to the next.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Love it, Mike. The other thing you might look at is something like refocusing on the revenue that could come in for you.
Yeah.
That's the driver, but it might be, right, for some people.
Yeah.
Robbie, how about you? If you think about sort of, you've got certain amounts of ability, and you might even go to where prompts succeed. Maybe give us an example there where your ability and your motivation is high enough that it gets over the action line. Have you got maybe a scenario for us, Robbie?
Yeah, for me, I'll take it into my my running. So, and I love this whole topic, because behavior, motivation, I really believe that if something is important enough to you, you can figure out a way to get it done.
Yes.
So for me, with my running, I've always been highly motivated to complete a race.
Nice.
And over the years that I've been running, I've gone for the big race, right? I've always gone for the marathon. As I've gotten older, my ability has changed to be able to do that type of length.
Yep.
So I changed the idea of it so that I'm prompt, I guess, and for me, the prompt, that's one's hard to define for me in this example, because my prompt is the way I feel after I've run. And
nice.
For me, it's not about prompt as much, because I think my habits have led me to prompts that are just almost automatic. I've done it before. I know how it makes me feel. So that feeling prompts me to want to do it again. maybe my prompts are emails from local races. So I've changed my line now. I have my action line. Instead of going for the marathon, I will go for the local race that's 5 miles, because it's high on my motivation. The email will prompt me and I'll say, sure, I'll sign up for that. And then I'll take action and do it.
It's really good. Love that example. Thank you both for that example. Jenny, are there any that come to mind for you either way? That, you know, I'm not trying to put you on the spot here. I want to be inclusive. If you had something that made sense to you.
I'm trying to differentiate between motivation and ability, in the sense that if I might have the ability, but I might not think I believe I have the ability.
Yeah, that's good.
And where that fits in on that example, because I usually think of motivation for me as more of a long-term outcome. Like it rises as I like it because of the outcome more.
Okay.
But I liked when you had this put on the action habit result chart.
Yep.
Because I was trying to, if my belief system is that my ability is low, even if it isn't low, do I mark it as low on here on this?
I think that's a really good point, because all of this is in your frame, right? All of this is what you believe. So your motivation is what you believe, how much high or low motivation you have.
Yeah.
And your ability, right? You could have huge ability in a certain area, but if you don't believe you do,
then it's going to be low there.
It's going to be below the action line for sure. I love that. That's a great point. So motivation, ability, and then this idea of prompts is really interesting. So let's go a little bit deeper, and then I think we'll just stay in the room here today, just because we're comfy together, and we'll do a quick little exercise. One of the things that BJ Fogg talks about is especially from a leadership perspective, is these ideas of, okay, so how, if we know that somebody that and this could be us, this could just be us leading us, or it could be us leading our kids, or it could be us leading people at work. Okay. So in the first instance here, he calls it a facilitator. So if you think about where that is, you've got, somebody's got high motivation, got to move my hand up here, high motivation, but what we might call low ability. Okay. And so if we're leading that person, we know they have high motivation, but low ability, then we want to be a facilitator. We want to be a facilitator. When we say a facilitator, what does that mean to you guys? Any thoughts there?
For me, it means talking to them or helping them to see how they can move forward.
It's really good.
To help them solve the problem.
Yeah,
totally.
That's facing them. Get over the obstacles.
And very inclusive.
Yeah, I love those. And would we agree that all three of those things that you guys just talked about would be us trying to help them increase their ability a little bit? Because they've already got high motivation, right? So if we can get them in a place where they increase their ability, or they frame it so that they feel like they've got more ability, then the prompt that happens is going to have more opportunity to succeed. Up in the bottom right, obviously we've got he calls it a spark. So if we have people that have low motivation but high ability, can you picture some people there? Yeah, I can picture myself sometimes.
Yeah.
And certainly I can picture many young hockey players that never played at the NHL level because it wasn't their ability. It was their motivation. So you can see what he's talking about from a spark point of view, agreed? Some people in our lives that have high ability, we want to find that spark to increase their motivation. So what drives more motivation so they can get up over that action line? And then obviously the cool piece is, the signal. It's a cool thought, right? You just, okay, high ability, high motivation. And you just give, it's like you're waving a flag. It's just, hey, this is where you're going. This is a signal, right? Boom, the prompt works. So have those in mind as you sort of think about leading yourself or leading people. Now, one of the things that he talks about are the motivators. Okay, so this is a good one. And obviously core motivators, we want to be reminded around. Pleasure is a big motivator, right? Hope is a big motivator, right? If you think about it, like, you got pleasure and pain, you got hope, fear. And I didn't bring this down enough. Maybe you guys already see this. Let me just move it up. I don't know if I can. That's interesting.
What is it that you want to know if
Just
we
at the
can
very
see?
bottom there. So it's
We
social
see down to-
acceptance.
We see that.
Oh, good. I didn't. And it's
Yeah.
social rejection. Okay.
Yeah.
So those are, let me just move that. So those there, guys, are the, obviously what BJ Fogg says in his mind are sort of the, the three big ones, right? So you've got, as you're thinking about motivation, you've got pleasure and pain, right? You got hope and fear, and then social acceptance, social rejection. And so to keep those in mind is a very powerful piece.
Are those positive and negative motivators? Is that?
I think that's his point, Jenny. Yes.
Yeah. So
And
they
so-
both motivate, but one in a positive way and the opposite in a negative way.
Very true. Very true. Although at certain times, they can spark us, can't they? Like if I've got a fear, let's say I'm playing in Philadelphia and they're gonna, I'm playing against all these tough old guys, right? A little bit of fear sometimes can spark, okay, I better be on tonight. That type of thing.
I better skate fast.
but long term, fear is not a powerful, ongoing motivator for sure. So
And would you say that for all three of the negative ones?
I would say that, but what would you guys say? What would you guys say about that?
I mean, I agree. I think positive motivators kind of endure, and the other ones are negative are short-term solutions.
Yeah, I think negative can, I agree that negative can be a spark, but eventually they will wear you down.
Yeah, that's
Inspire
it.
you. Yeah.
Good way to put it, Robbie. Yep.
Yeah.
I agree with Mike and Robbie. Great question, Jen. So then let's look at ability. And I really like what BJ Fogg does here, because I think sometimes we just look at, okay, I'm good at this or I'm not good at this. And we think of physical ability or physical effort, right? Would you agree with that? Yeah, I'm a good runner, or no, I'm not a good runner. But the ability chain is something to keep your mind on. And this is some of his strongest work, because sometimes within the concept of our ability, can be time. Okay, so how would that work out, Jenny? What's come to mind when you think of ability and time?
Well, because I have a lot of great ideas for myself, and I don't always factor in the amount of time they're all going to take and use up. When I think, okay, I can do this, and this.
Interesting.
So that is, I automatically, when I think ability, I don't even think physical ability. I think mental, emotional ability, intellectual ability. It's kind of the way I hadn't factored time in at all.
That's cool. And on the bottom there, he's got mental effort.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it's good. Mike, where would money fit in from an ability point of view? That's an interesting one.
I mean, is that in the context of, you know, you might need money to advance your business, or I'm not sure.
Right? For sure. And I think that his point is in the ability chain is that it's, you know, we need to expand our thinking around ability, right? So as we're thinking about, for some of us, there could be lots of motivation, but we don't have the money to start the business. Could be part of it. How about physical effort we get, right, Robbie? What about routine? That's an interesting one, Robbie.
One of my favorites. Actually, the chain itself, and it's interesting, again, coming at it from a runner's perspective, I could remove one link and still be very successful.
It's cool.
So I can take money out of it. I don't need money to, I mean, you know, I need to buy a pair of shoes, but routine is huge. And that really is what continues your success, is routine.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So let's take this deeper in the
Can I just sorry.
Jump in, Jen.
Would routine then, I just think of habits in the other chart when I think of routine.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Are you agreeing, Robbie, with
that
Jen?
correlates for me.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point, Jen. I think that's probably where, because some people might see routine and think, oh, that might not be so important because I can change things up and do things differently and still be successful. But I think you're right, Jen. What I was thinking of is similar. I was thinking routine as in habits. Whatever you're doing to help you be successful, you have to create as a habit. Yes.
It's really good. Again, just a reminder where those live, right? Because here's, you know, guys, where we're going in the next 5 or 10 minutes. And I want you, both Mike, or all of you, but Mike and Robbie for sure, to be thinking about one behavior that you want to increase in your life. Okay, because let's walk through this from a behavioral point of view. What do you want more of in a behavior? So, high motivation, low ability, reminder, facilitator. You're facilitating somebody to increase their ability. And when we saw the ability chain, I mean, you could be trying to help them get more time, could be more money, right? It could be physical, could be mental, could be a better habit, more of a routine. And then there's the signal, the high ability, high motivation, and then the spark, right? High ability, low motivation. We want to spark that motivation, see if we can get it up over the line there. So these are really the 4 areas. And Robbie, here's a little bit further on prompting. And BJ Fogg does a good job here. So there's a context prompt, there's a people prompt, and there's an action prompt. Okay, so let's dig through that a little bit. So what would context be? Mike, can you think of a context prompt? Can you think of an example there? So something happens, let's say Mike, you're at the Canadian, I don't know, the Canadian club in downtown London. And there's a certain context that happens and it prompts you. What would be a better example?
Yeah, no, that, so say I'm at a reception at Canada House, because that's a real thing.
I think we've been
and
there.
there's a speaker that's talking about international sports relations between the UK and Canada.
Yeah.
That's a context prompt for me.
Brilliant. And boom, your brain goes to, ooh, that's exactly me. I got to write this guy's name down. I got to go do this. I got to phone that guy, right? It prompts some of the stuff that is in your mind. How about Robbie, from a people prompt? How would that work in your life?
I'm not sure if because wouldn't Mike's example be a people prompt, or am I off on that?
It
Like,
could be, that's true. The person came in,
yes.
but then they
yeah,
also created a certain context in Mike's mind,
context.
right?
Okay.
Where they're focused on the things that he's really focused on. So that context gives you, something. And we'll try to go deeper on context too. But how about people? Like if you thought of your work or your family, how do people prompt you?
I'm not sure. I think I'm a little lost on this one.
No problem. No problem. Jenny, how would people prompt you? And I don't have all the answers here. We're gonna work through them ourselves.
These are very interconnected, so I get your difficulty there, Robbie. How do people prompt me? I don't know, Ryan. You know, when I get stopped all the time, so I wear Vibram shoes. So I don't run, but I walk in them, and they come in all different styles, and they really helped my feet. And so I would even wear them in the airport to board the plane. They're easy to slip on and off when you have to go, if we're going to the US, we have to take our shoes off. And everywhere I go, including our walks here, people stop me and ask me about my shoes. And so that's I have another sort of health business. I actually contacted that company repeatedly asking if I could have an affiliate link and sell their shoes, because so many people want the shoes and know nothing about them. And so when someone asks about my shoes, that's a prompt for me to work on the affiliate link that I do have in my health business and reach out to somebody, because there's people that might want it as much as they want my shoes, but I can't sell my shoes to anyone.
Yeah.
Is that people,
Yeah.
Ryan?
For
Or
sure.
more context or more action? See,
Well, I think it's both. I think you and Robbie are onto something here that, these really bleed in, don't they? Because there's context, there's people, there's action. I'll tell you a simple one. You guys already know this. And but when Jen smiles at me, right? I mean, it's a brilliant prompt. It creates endorphins in me, right? Like I know why I love this girl. Like it's all of that. So I think that people we could go deep on, and then obviously the action side's interesting, especially when we start thinking of the actions that are behaviors that are high behaviors that we can do well. We can do a lot of, right? Those can really prompt us. Oh yeah, let's get at it. Let's get busy. I think that I like where Robbie, I like the way that you were transparent with us, because I don't think the prompt side's easy. And I'd love us to maybe think about it this week a little bit. What are the prompts that really work in my life?
So can I ask you, Ryan, or at least give this thought out to the group? And it feels a little obnoxious, but I'm wondering if I don't get prompts as much because I tend to put the prompts out to others versus taking them in or accepting them or noticing them myself, because I do consider myself a highly motivated person. And when it matters to me, I prompt myself.
Sure. And you're good at that, Robbie. I mean, you're the organized, right, one in the whole group. Right. So you're always prompting Mike, or you're setting up a meeting with me and Mike, or
Right. So I don't wait for the prompts. I go out and give them, maybe. I don't know.
Cool.
Something that was in my head. That's
cool. Yeah. So this week, I want you to, Jen and I want you guys to think about all three areas. So, really be sensitive to motivation. What motivates Mike? Mike, and what motivates Robbie, right? Robbie knows what motivates Jen, what motivates Ryan. And then this idea of ability, right? What are some of the areas that we have really good high ability in? And be writing those down, right? And I think sometimes it's within the context of the way we treat people, right? It's not just, lifting weights or doing something physical. As you can see, the ability chain is much more than that. And then here's your big one. This is not an easy one, but I want you to keep in mind the idea of prompts and watch your week. When do you get prompted? When does it work? Right? And is this idea of the ability, right, where motivation gets to a certain place and ability gets to a certain place, and all of a sudden the prompt works. So we want you to try to keep that alive. Now, the other thing, Robbie, that I wanted to put in here, I knew it was right at the end. You asked, what is a prompt? So there's maybe a better list, right? Would you agree that we get cued sometimes? The trigger is a big one for me. I'll get triggered, whether it's, on my cell phone or it could be just something somebody says, right? And then this whole idea of call to action, or there's an offer, Mike, you're driving towards an offer and something happens, you get prompt, you move to the next one. Does that make sense, Robbie? Awesome.
Yeah, sorry, I just have to answer the door. Yes, but it does.
Yeah, no problem at all. So Mike, we're going to start with you. We're going to end in 5 minutes here. Would there be one, and this is, don't go too deep on this. Would there be one behavior that you'd like to really focus on, where we could walk through this idea of BJ Fogg? I'm just gonna, I'll lay this up here just so that we've got it. And we could look at the 3 elements just to help you work through that. What would be one behavior you'd like to work on, Mike?
Well, I'd really like to, I guess working backwards, I want to get into flow more, which I think means I need to have more focus.
Nice.
And which also means more discipline and accountability to myself.
Very cool.
So I guess really focus is kind of the central part of that.
So from an ability point of view, if we were to say that you want to increase the flow zone, and at the far side over there, over this side, it's hard to do for you. And over here, hard to do for you over here, easy to do for you here. So you want more flow. And then the question is, Mike, is what's your motivation? How motivated are you to actually generate that ability of increasing flow?
Well, I want to be able to, I guess, work better, smarter, and get more done, really.
Yeah.
And get more done. So get more done and be more effective.
Nice. So one, it's a
which I guess the end product of that is getting more business, getting
Sure.
better business, better relationships.
For sure, Mike. I love that. And I love where you're going here, because at the end of the day, how can we increase our motivation to increase flow, right? So those are, the ability is flow. Let's increase that, and let's increase our motivation to get into flow. And the beauty is that the prompt is brilliant. I'll give you an example. When Robbie talks about routine, Mike, I have found that as an athlete, that one of the things that helps me get into flow more often is habit/routine, right? So let's say you get up in the morning. Do you have tea or coffee, Mike?
Coffee.
What's going on? I thought you drank tea over there.
When do you have your tea? At 4 o'clock?
I do have tea in the evening usually, actually, because I drink coffee in the morning, get me going, and then
Mike,
no caffeine afternoon, herbal tea.
Here I thought you'd turn into one of those Brits. Come on, buddy.
No, not quite.
So the idea of flow, what I would do when I was an athlete is try to keep the same routine. And that would begin to prompt me, right? Okay, flow, number one. Number two, when you think of the ability side from a time, a money, physical, mental, and then the fifth one was routine point of view. Think about that in the context of flow. I'll give you an example. I find more often when I want to get in flow to write my book, to write our book. I put on earphones. Right. And Mike, you're going to make calls. You could easily get yourself some earphones and that, you can still make the call through, but nothing else comes in, right? You've got this repeated music that goes, that's really good for you, that goes around and around. You're 100% focused. You make your call, you get your notes to get, your next call. And the cool thing, Mike, is that you've created a physical thing, right? A prompt where the minute you put those earphones on, what does that do? That prompts flow.
That prompts flow. Yeah.
Right. So boom. And they don't have to be the big expensive ones. You could have the little ones that go in. But I think it's the idea that exactly. That you put them on, you put them in, and you put, some sort of soft music on or whatever it is.
Or silence.
Pardon me?
Or silence.
Or silence.
Someone who likes silence.
Yeah, the new Apple, the new ones actually create silence. I can't believe it. It's amazing.
What are the antecedents again, Ryan, to flow?
The antecedents to flow, the three things to get us into flow. Number one, clarity of goals, Mike. Thank you, Jenny, for that reminder. Right. Number two is immediate feedback. Number three is, remember this idea that its ability down below and its challenge this way. Those have to be equal. So you have to, skill. If you increase your skill, you have to increase the challenge.
Right.
So those are the three antecedents to flow that might help you, Mike, as you move through this. Just to finish up though, and we can go deeper, Mike, send me an email or whatever. Robbie, what one behavior would you like to work on this week in the context of B equals MAP?
The only thing I can think of, and I'm assuming, I don't know if this is a behavior, but confidence. It was interesting. Jen had said before, very similar to me, that I have the motivation. My motivation generally is very high with a lot of things. And I have the ability, at least I'm told I do, but I don't believe it sometimes. And so it stops me from moving forward. And I'll take that mostly in the context of my professional life.
Okay.
In that I really tend to outgrow the position that I'm in fairly quickly, but I don't believe that I have the ability to move forward. So I get sort of stuck where I am at.
That's really good, Robbie. Thanks for sharing that. We're doing some research on confidence, so we'll get you some information on that. But one of the things that we're finding is I think confidence in my mind now is less rah. It's less, come on, Robbie, you got to be confident. And it's a lot more you trusting your history. You see, you've done this in the past, whatever this is.
Right.
You need to see yourself in the past as going back and going, okay, I've done this. So that's a great foundation for me to be confident on the way forward.
Yeah.
If I've done that, I can do that.
Right.
So then making sure that feeling matches your history, right? Because you're good at this. And sometimes confidence is taking. I think I don't know if you saw our last blog, but I tried to say it this way: your present self has to trust your past self for the good work that it's done, right? So that your future self can be confident. And even if we haven't done something right in the past, you know what's cool? Is our present self, neuroscience is now telling us, can actually make up a new ending, right?
Yeah.
If it was negative in the past, you could actually frame it through the learning experience that you received, and that gives it a positive, confident ending so that your future self can go, I can do this.
Yeah, I like that.
So always for confidence, always look back at what you've achieved and what you've done and who you are, right? All these very foundational pieces, and grow your confidence on substance, not on rah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, guys, I want to be careful of our time, but another awesome time together. Your homework, you got lots of it this time. I'd love you to think about what behaviors do you want to change, because I threw that at you quick. But if you could spend a minute with your journal, you'll come up with 4 or 5. We all have. And then how does B equals MAP fit into that? So how do we get those behaviors in a place where, I've got lots of motivation, maybe I need to increase my ability. Or, at this point, the prompt isn't working and not consistently. So what is out of whack here? Should I, if I've got lots of ability here, then what motivation do I need to increase? So I want you to think through that sort of frame. And then the second piece of homework was this idea of, where we get up into behaviors that are really high important behaviors, and they're easy to do. I can make myself do them. I want you to really focus up in that top right, and write some of those down. Okay, I'm like, some of the ones for me, are the 24-hour fast. I love that one. I've got that. Walking with Jen, I got that one. That's important. I need to now start working on, eating clean, eating dirty. I got to move that eating clean up into that far spot so that I'm way more, consistent there. And I think part of that for me, from an ability point of view, is I need to be more motivated there, right? I just can't let a day or two go on the weekend and say, I'm going to lose weight, even if I eat, do whatever I want in the weekend. Doesn't work for me at 63. And I'm getting younger, right? Mike, did I say 39?
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, that's the opposite there. Just switch the numbers.
I'm switching it. So awesome, guys. Well, that's a good start, and look forward to next week. We'll catch up on some of this, and then we'll go deeper, okay?